Hello everyone, this is the last part probably on research method and paper writing. So far I have presented 7 lectures, all are short, roughly 10 to 15 minutes, and you can get everything in this link or look underneath the show more part to get more video. So this is the last part on ethics, research ethics, which is very important for researchers, reviewers, authors, and so on. So I'll try to cover one by one. My name is Ahad. I'm from University of Dhaka, and currently I'm working at Osaka University. So these lectures, are based on different materials, different experiences and knowledges, and this part is basically from some training I took, or I should say some certificates I got based on some exams. So I learned from those information. So research ethics as a part the Association for the Promotion of Research Integrity in Japan. So what are the basic ethical issues we cover in research methodology and paper writing and reviewing and so on, or fund handling, supervising, and so on. So definitely I cannot cover everything, but a few more information within 10-15 minutes I will try to handle here. So one information is to how to handle personal information or image in research. It is very important that we should handle it very properly. Personal information and image and privacy and security of those are very important. Actually, there should have an independent ethics committee in every university, and for any animal or human beings information or something, an ethical approval should be taken from the university. But I'm not sure whether all the universities in the world, especially in developing countries, and whether they have independent ethics committee to get formal approval. So if you don't have, do something written from the department or dean, or if you handle with hospital data, then go for the medical directors and so on, written something, so that based on this you can move on. Because when you submit to a top journal or top conference, especially top journals, they sometimes ask for original documents or scanned documents of those kind of ethical approval or personal information security and so on. So please consider this prior to the research. Mentoring and advising is very important. Data handling and data protection. Data protection is very important. Make sure that the data you collect are not distributed without proper approval from whom you got the data. Okay, so that's why it is important that you can take the consents from the participants that these data or image or whatever may be used or can be used for research purpose. If it is private, that's one thing. If it is for open, that you want to make it open source, share with others, then take this kind of agreements from the participants or those who give the data. It is important that you communicate information to the public, because research is for the public and most of the researches are based on public funding, even from industry. But make sure that research misconduct, I'll mention some of those, and responsible conduct of research, it is important. When we do research, especially for engineering research, environmental and social dimensions are important to consider. Okay, and when we have multiple projects, one person, you have multiple funds, multiple projects, make sure that you distribute the percentage of efforts, because total 100% you can give. So in a day, officially 8 hours, 10 hours, you cannot say I work for 15 hours to 20 hours per day. Officially, yes, we have to do, but we do not mention this in the proposal. So if you have already a funding where your efforts are 60%, then you can mention that in another funding or another project, that I'll engage 10% or 20% time for this and that. For example, if you apply for a big fund as the lead person, but at the same time you are a hospital doctor, then how can you manage? Because every day, for example, you work 4 hours in the hospital, then what about the other things? So make sure that this kind of informations are properly done and you can handle this properly. Whistleblowing is another term, that in our life, and not only in research but other areas, means that a person who informs on a person or organization about any unlawful or immoral activity regarding research. So if somebody knows, they can do it. And in the ethical committee, it is important that they make sure that the security and confidentiality of the whistleblower, and whistleblower should be honest, and at the same time he has or she has the right to protect, get the protection and so on. And obligation to the project public, this is another point. Punishable research misconduct: fabrication, you cannot fabricate, okay, falsification, you cannot lie, and plagiarism, you cannot copy from other works. Issues on collaborative research. Collaboration is very important. Without collaboration, we cannot move. Now we need formal agreement and approval of research conditions and ethics. Like, what are the different conditions by which we can collaborate to each other? Especially in top research areas, we have to collaborate with different departments, universities, industries, even among different countries. And university to university, industry, university, and country to country, the regulations may vary. In some countries, it is very loose. In some countries, it's very strict. So that's why you need to make sure to get the formal agreement and approval. Funding management is very important. Sometimes we cannot manage fund properly, but this is important. Authorship issues I'll cover, and data security or privacy issues. Now you can search and get more information about this. Now, how to manage while divorcing collaboration? Like, I mean, you started with someone or with a group, and after a while you found that it's not working properly. So how to do it? There are some strategies you can check. Leadership is important. Who is the main leader and how to handle it? Or if the main leader is not working on, then what will happen? Multidisciplinary collaborations have different regulations and dimensions, as I mentioned. Industry, academia are different, and we have to deal them smartly. Remember that in most of the developing countries, there is very little industry academia collaboration. So, for countries like Bangladesh or India, we must have more industry oriented researches. At the same time, industry should come forward to the academia, and academics should show their interest and capability and confidence so that industry can move forward, and government should help both parties to come together and have some kind of warmth, some kind of love affairs between industry and academia. Otherwise, we cannot progress like the developed world. Patent issues, it is important, and in a university, there should have an intellectual property division by which they can move forward and so on. Authorships, we know the genuine authors that who are working, and they must be there. But you can see that this kind of ghost authors are there. Some big guy, for example, are added sometimes for money or gift, or something like that. It is illegal. Authorship by authority, like he's in the position of chairmanship or dean, and sometimes they want that, okay, for this project I helped, so I'll be in the author list. It's not appropriate. Gift authorship, like big guy as author with zero effort because of something. And political authorship is another term, to make someone happy. Otherwise, he or she might be angry or jealous. So you are worrying about this and you add someone. So this is also not appropriate. Another one I found, that authorship for someone, sweetheart. Okay, so this is inappropriate. I found a good number of those, and then I discussed with them, and I found that this is done by young researchers without understanding the purpose. You can look at this information for more, and from that, an author should have substantial contribution and writing or editing and final approval before submitting the paper, and must take the responsibility of the paper. So that's why, who is important at author? There is no fixed pattern. Usually, the first author means the most work or idea by whom. Last author, sometimes the supervisor or less contributor. So, second, third, fourth, this way we can consider. Corresponding author is the most important one, and they decide and for all the communication. So, decide authors and sequence after joint approval. Don't just make it. And if you have multiple authors who have equal contributions, nowadays we mention with asterisk symbols or something, and then as a footnote we mention that author one or two have equal contributions. So this is sometimes we write, and it should be based on conceptualization, who did the methodology, any formal analysis, writing the original draft, reviewing, editing, supervision, and so on. And before you submit, all authors must have read and agreed the published version of the manuscript. Competing interest is another term, or conflict of interest. I mean, authors declare that they have no competing interest. In many journals, you have to write that. Your personal interest, for example, money or something else, it may have influence to, have some problem, like to depart it from the objectivity of the research, or to gain something, or making decisions better, and so on. So this is one point. And biased view, this is another point. So if you look at the Nature website, you can find this kind of information, that competing financial or non-financial interests that may have some kind of potential influence on the judgment and actions of the authors with regard to objective data presentation, analysis, and interpretation. If you have something like working with some company or having some special funding and so on, you have to mention proper acknowledgement of fund, or any support like volunteers and others you can add in the paper as well as in the presentation. Managing research fund is very important. Fund is a responsibility. Proper use of fund is important. If you cannot finish a return, this is discredit, but still you have to return. Some cases, fake business trips are mentioned, fake, honorarium, and in a few cases, attending fake conferences as invited speakers, because there are many fake conferences they invite, that you come and you go. And efforts versus funds, as I mentioned earlier. Plagiarism, fabrication, falsification. Why to cheat? For promotion, pressure, funding worry, more publications, or you have a genetic problem to cheat. Make sure that, you don't cheat in this. Any report of misconduct, you must keep it secret, confidential, unless and until it is proven. Without any proof, don't just make it in the newspaper and mention any punishment, because it defames the person, and so on. Who will judge? There should have a research integrity office who are trained and honest. And plagiarism, in terms of ideas, works, or methods, results, images, without proper credit or source, and even a verbal communication sometimes on ideas. IEEE plagiarism checker considers if there are similarities more than 30%. So make sure they have a prohibited author list, that who have very high plagiarism, and they are punished by IEEE. Proper citation or quotation is not enough. If you paraphrase, provide references, and mention what is yours. Duplicate publication or self-plagiarism. In top journals from prior work, you can extend 50% and you can submit. In lower or mid journals, less is okay. So it means that there are some overlap issues. Is your published work copyrighted? Make sure that refer the published work and mention what are the additions in the new paper. No dual submission, because if you submit two papers in two different conferences or journals, reviewers are, wasting their time. Peer review means need constructive criticism at good or bad points of the paper, how to improve, review on time, and don't delay. Confidentiality of the work is important. Are you competent to do that? If not, don't do it. Avoid pseudo racism. Originality, contribution, depth of the work, good or bad points. Paper is a storytelling, language or clarity, strong background, and in-depth analysis, and compare with the state of the art methods. Journal versus conference, sometimes like reviewer, program committee, associate editor, and so on. You can have a look, that make sure journal they just publish, no presentation. Conference or workshop or symposium, they can accept a paper after review and you can publish it as well as present it. With that, I'd like to thank you all, and all the people here. This is based on my knowledge in Japan and elsewhere, and many papers I got kicked out by the reviewers. And you can subscribe, and I will be very happy if you share with others, so that we can have more learning. Thank you so much.